You know, if you're like me, when it comes time for the wine to be poured, somehow I still feel a little bit uneasy even after all these years. And to that end, we're fortunate because we have a guest in the studio today who is going to help us with a little bit of Wine 101. Please welcome Alex Montañez from Rovali's in Ogden. How are you, sir?
Nice, thank you. I'm fine.
Good. Welcome to the show, and please do help out someone who could always get a little more wine education.
You bet. Well, today we're going to be doing a Wine 101 tasting, so I'm going to tell you the correct way to taste wine, to look at it, to hold the glass, the importance of the glass itself. So we're just going to kind of run through everything, okay?
Excellent.
And I did bring one of my favorite wines today, and this is a Casamata Rosso. And we're going to start off with this one. I normally start off with the whites and then go to the reds, but you know, we're going to try something a little different today. This happens to be a screw top, and don't let that fool you. Screw top wines are excellent wines these days, and I'll tell you why in a little bit.
Very good.
But before I pour the wine, what I want to talk about first is I want to talk about the glass itself. You know, a lot of people wonder, you know, if that's important and why it's important. And the reason why glass is important is because depending on what type of wine you're going to be pouring, the mouth, whether it's a narrow mouth or an open mouth, will allow it to oxygenate. And so those kinds of things are really important. Plus, you know, the type of crystal, is it a good glass of wine? For example, could you imagine yourself drinking a glass of wine out of a plastic cup?
Seems to me there's just something fundamentally wrong about that.
There is something fundamentally wrong. Plus, you know, I mean, you'd do it if you had to. I know I would.
If I'm at a certain location and maybe there's some music, then
there you go.
Make those concessions.
There you go. So the glass is really important. And also the way that you hold the glass is also important depending on what type of wine that you want to drink. For example, if you're drinking a white wine, which is typically a chilled wine or cooler wine than room temperature, you're going to want to hold it by the stem. Because if you hold it by the bowl, it's going to warm up your wine. And so likewise with a red wine, it's the opposite. You're going to want to cup the glass like so, because it is already room temperature. You don't want it to cool down, and that keeps it where you want it to be. So even holding the glass. Now some people drink with their pinky extended, some don't. But either way, that's acceptable, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour the first glass of wine. And now, with everything with wine, presentation matters, okay?
Indeed.
That's why you have fancy labels, really good-looking labels, and how you pour the wine is really important as well. So I'm going to pour the wine and then let you mimic me so that you can see the correct way.
Very good.
Now, when you come up to somebody, even if it doesn't matter if you're you know, at a private party at your own home, you want to do the wine presentation the same all the time. And so you want to show your guest or your customer, as if you were a customer at Rovali's, you want to show them the label, show them the year, so that they see what they're getting. And then you want to go ahead and pour the wine, and you put it on the edge of the rim. Now with the red wine, you want to pour it right directly in the middle.
Okay.
Because you want it to oxygenate. Okay. And then you want to do a little twist, like so that it doesn't drip down the side of the glass or down the side of the bottle, okay? Keep that label clean. That's important.
As we discussed, that's
right.
It's one of my real shortcomings when it comes to pouring wine.
All right, so now you get to try it.
All right.
You can pour it in your own glass.
I guess you pour it into my own.
Yep. A tense
All
moment.
right. Into the middle, resting, a little splash there, and twist.
Perfect. There you go. Now, in a restaurant setting, you would have a towel on your arm to catch anything that may drop. But you know, at home, you don't need to do that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on here. Now, depending on the red wine that you have, especially if it's a Merlot or something deeper, you're going to want to let that breathe, and you're going to want to let just the air hit it so that all the aroma and the florals and everything come out of there. Now, good way to do that is to twirl it. So we like to, a good way to do that is, some people say, well, I'm not coordinated, I'm going to spill it all over the place. And I've basically learned how to do it sitting on the table itself. So you can twirl it like this and get it higher up on the glass as you can. Now what this is doing is it's oxygenating the wine itself, letting it breathe. and speeding up that process a little bit. But then it is allowing you to take a look at the wine. So if you hold it up, you'll see how the wine coats the glass coming down. Okay. Now, the thicker the coat, that means that there's a heavier alcohol content, and you'll see this one has got, it's pretty good because it's coating, but you'll see little rivulets coming down, and we refer to those as legs.
Legs.
Okay? So she's got legs like
I've always been a leg
top.
fan, so
Okay,
you got me there.
So you can see that running down, and then you also hold it up to see the clarity of the wine. You know, make sure, does it have sediment in it? Is sediment a bad thing? Not necessarily.
Right.
But, you know, most people like a good clear wine, and so you can see through this. Also, you can actually tell the age of the wine by the very rim of where the glass and the wine meet. If there's a light purple around it, that means it's usually an older wine, so it's starting to age a little bit. Okay.
I see.
Now the next thing to do, and I have to take off my glasses to do this the correct way.
Okay.
Is to sniff the wine. And so what you want to do, most people will sniff it like this. And that's a little incorrect. The reason I say that is because if somebody's wearing cologne or perfume, you're going to be smelling that as well. So
Right.
the best thing to do is to block all that out, and you stick your nose clean in, and you take a nice inhale, nice sniff. Now you see you're starting to get the bouquet.
Yes, absolutely.
And the richness, and you're able to start pulling out, you know, flavors even. Okay. Now, smelling is one of the most important things in a wine tasting, because even when you taste it, your nasal cavity and everything all factor into getting the most enjoyment out of the wine. Okay, so now that we've tasted it, now we're going to do something a little different. Okay. Some people, and there's different ways to taste wine. For example, some people will take a little sip and they'll take a little bit of air with it. Okay.
Right.
Now, I like to do mine slightly different. What I do is I like to take a nice sizable gulp and then swish it around almost like you had mouthwash.
Okay.
So that it coats the tongue, all parts of the tongue, the bitter, sweet, and everything. Okay.
Right.
That causes the salivary glands to just go crazy. Okay, so it's like, oh wow, yeah, something good's coming.
Exactly.
Then you swallow, and people are normally shocked, especially when they do it with a Merlot or some really bold wine.
Yes.
Okay, they're like, whoa. But then the following taste, then you take a little bit of the air, and then you taste it, and then you get the full effect. So,
Alex, before we do that,
Sure.
let's take a quick break because I don't want to rush through this. I know this is going to be the pinnacle of our experience. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the tasting moment. Stay tuned. We are back, Wine 101 with Alex Montañez from Rovali's, and it is the moment that we have all been waiting for. We have uncorked the wine, we have poured, we have viewed, we have smelled. It is time to taste this wine. Alex?
cheers.
Cheers.
Excellent.
Very nice. Very
Thank you.
nice. So the second sip, I understand, is a little bit different than the first?
Yep. After your mouth has been coated, it's ready to pull all the flavors out.
All right then.
Very smooth.
Very nice. It's opened up.
Yep.
Doesn't have that tightness that you often have when you very first open it up. Wonderful stuff. So, as we're feeling wonderful now, a question for you that I have that we talked a little bit before we came on camera, and that is that I noticed that you've got some wines here that most of them have the traditional cork, but tell us a little bit about the screw top. Seems like that's more prevalent nowadays, and whether or not that works.
Absolutely. Well, this particular wine here, it is a screw top wine, as you can see. And back in the day, if you had a screw top wine, you know, you could probably buy a gallon for $2. And so that was considered a very cheap wine. But these days, the way that they process the wine, they're not in oak barrels or different kinds of wooden barrels. Now they're in steel vats, and so they cure and they mature faster. So with a screw top wine, the wine can be excellent. I mean, the prices range from, you know, very inexpensive to very expensive for a screw top. Doesn't matter. But the reason for the screw top is that because it matures quicker, this is going to have a shelf life of about 3 years. Okay, so this isn't the type you want sitting in the cellar gathering dust and you want to pull out 25 years from now, because it's probably not going to be very good.
So that's the main difference between a cork wine and a screw top, is that that's not something that you want to lay down and keep for a long time?
That's correct.
I see.
Yeah, it's going to mature at about 5 years at the longest. And so you're going to want to drink that. And you know, originally the screw tops came by necessity because they ran out of cork. There was problems getting cork, and so they decided to do the screw top. But as the whole wine industry matures, and the way that they do things, it's much better. That's why you're getting great wines from out of South Africa, out of Australia, Chile, Argentina. All these places are producing excellent wines. They're not all Italian wines or French. And so now when we move to like the Anselmi, this is a corked bottle, as you can see, and there's still a lot of people that do either the artificial cork, which is kind of a rubber, and the real cork. So, you know, and these ones, they're going to last a little bit longer. So if you want to have them sitting in your private stock, it's not going to hurt it, you know. And again, along with everything else, you want them to rest on their sides.
You do. Even with a wine that you only store for a couple, 3 years, but has a screw top, you still want it to be on the side?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Now, I mentioned earlier in the segment that, you know, we're looking at the clarity of wine. And as you can tell with this particular wine here, this Anselmi, it is very clear. Okay. Now, some people worry when there's sediment in a wine, and is that a bad thing?
Good point.
And it's not. It's not a bad thing. That just tells you that their filtration systems are a little bit different, and it's okay. The wine is not bad. It's just that they filter it in a different way. So that's some of the things that you can look for in your wines. And I just recommend that the best way to learn about wine is just to try it. You know, a lot of people, especially beginners, and I want to point this out. A lot of people get nervous because they don't want to feel stupid about wines.
Yes.
You're smiling.
As much wine as I've drank, I'm still nervous.
You know, but it's interesting because when you talk to somebody that's never tasted wine or that is a newbie at wine, they're pulling out and they're describing things like tar or tobacco or different things like that, which is kind of the true essence, because you haven't been trained, so to speak, to, okay, it's going to taste like this, this, and this. There's more of a free flow of ideas and suggestions. So there's really no wrong way to describe a wine, because whatever it is to you,
Whatever
maybe
it makes you feel.
Yeah, it may be different to me. Absolutely.
Interesting. Very good stuff. Well, tasting these wines, I'm certainly excited to get the car pointed towards Ogden and get on up to Rovali. So if you would tell folks how they can get there and where they can find out more about the menu online, etc.
You bet. Well, we're located right in the heart of Ogden, and it's at historic 25th Street, 174 25th Street, Ogden, Utah. And we have it's a great facility. It's a 103-year-old building.
Wow. Wooden
floors, brick walls, live music every Friday and Saturday night. And you can also give us a call if you want to make a reservation for Rovali's. It's 801-394-1070, or you can find us online at www.rovalis.com, or look us up on YouTube at Rovali's TV.
Excellent. Well, very much look forward to coming and visiting you and all the family, as I understand.
That's right.
It's in the restaurant, and put a little Italian food with these delicious wines, and see you soon.
Well, we'd be honored to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. There you have it, Wine 101. I don't know about you, but I feel a little less nervous than I did before we started.